Hello friends, here we are again. Today we'll discuss how to change the voice in present and past indefinite. We may also call them simple present and simple past. You may think why these two tenses together. I'll show you why, because there is very little difference in changing the voice. So we are actually changing it from active to passive. These sentences given here are all in active voice. And we will change them into passive voice. Number 1, Rohan writes a letter every week. And number 2, Margaret followed all the instructions thoroughly. You can see that the first example is in the present tense and the second is in the past tense. How to know that? Just look at the finite verb present here. Here it is writes and the next one follows. So first one first. This is in the present tense and we can see that actually it is in the simple present, or what we call present indefinite. The rules are very easy and they are similar. First and foremost, we know we have to find out the object. So what is the object here? We have to ask two questions with what or whom. Let us ask with what. Writes what? A letter. We have got our answer. It is the direct object, a letter. So remember, it's a letter and not only the letter. If you write, just think letter is the object, it will be wrong. Many do such a mistake. So many commit such a mistake thinking that letter is the object. No, a letter. And about the indirect object here, let's see. We won't find any actually. If you ask with whom, writes whom, the answer is not given. It could have been an answer, obviously writes his friend or whatever, but the answer is not here. We are dealing with single object here. Later I will show you how to do with double objects. So a letter is the object present here. And the rule is, first we will take the object to the beginning of the passive voice. A letter. Now, according to the tense, we need an auxiliary be verb. In simple present, we need an auxiliary be verb. So, whatever that would be appropriate, that will be suitable. The compatible be verb for third person singular number in present tense is is. A letter is. Now, the past participle or the third form of the verb, that is written. A letter is written. Now, the complement or the last part. Now there will be by and the subject changes position. So we have got our passive voice. As I have discussed before, the formula then is number 1, the object comes to the position of the subject in passive voice. Second, we need an auxiliary verb. The auxiliary verb must agree to the subject. So what do we mean by must agree to the subject? It means that the subject has a particular specific person and number. The auxiliary verb should be suitable to that person and number, and obviously to the tense. That's why here we have present tense. The subject here is third person singular number, and the auxiliary verb is correctly chosen. A letter is. So the auxiliary verb comes into play and it should agree to the subject. Number 3, we have the past participle form of the finite verb, of the main verb that has been given in the active voice. So the active voice had right, and here in the passive voice we have made it written. So it is the past participle of the main verb given here. Now this bit is not difficult, yet it can be tricky. There are both views here. Number 1, there is a view that by Rohan, that means by and the subject should just sit after the past participle of the verb. That is to say, it should be a letter is written by Rohan every week. And there is another view that they should come after this complement. Now generally what I can say is that if the complement is a short phrase and if it doesn't really look peculiar, it's better to place the agent with by after the complement. But if in any case we feel that it really looks peculiar to place it at the end, or there is maybe an infinite infinite phrase, or there is a clause, or it is really a long phrase, in that case we may put by and the agent close to the verb. That will be better to read also. In that case we can take this part and put it here. That means just after the third form of the verb. So both actually are grammatically correct and meaningful. In fact, sometimes taking the by too far would rather make a very cumbersome sentence. So we have to have that basic sense, you may say, basic sense of how it sounds good also about this. Okay, so now let's come to the past indefinite. Here the next sentence is in the past tense, simple past or past indefinite sense. In this past indefinite tense, the changes would remain the same. There is only one difference. What is that? Let's see. Here again we find out the object first. Margaret followed all the instructions thoroughly. Followed what? All the instructions. So this is our object. All the instructions. We know we have to take the object to the subject position. So let's take it. All the instructions. Now it is in the past tense. And that's where it differs from the previous sentence. Because it is in the past tense, we need an auxiliary V verb of the past tense. As I said, remember, as I've said before, that the auxiliary verb should agree with the person and number of the subject and that with the tense of the sentence. So that second part, it has to agree with the tense. Because this verb is in the past tense, the auxiliary be verb will also be in the past tense. Now let's look at this sentence. Here the subject now, all the instructions is third person but plural number. It is not singular, so we cannot use a singular be verb in the past tense here. So a plural verb, be verb. We have two options, was, were. For the plural subject, third person plural, we need the plural one, that is were. All the instructions were. Followed in its past participle form is also followed. All the instructions were followed thoroughly by Margaret. So we have got our passive voice here. All the instructions were followed thoroughly by Margaret. As I have shown, you can see that here the auxiliary verb in the first sentence was in the present tense and in the second it is in the past tense. Otherwise, you see that there is no difference. The procedure is the same. The object has come to the subject position. We have got the auxiliary verb that agrees with the subject in matters of its person and number. We have also got the past participle as in the first sentence. And the rest is also the same formula. So in both simple present and simple past, the formula is easy. The passive voice will have one auxiliary verb and the past participle form of the main verb. Depending on whether it is in present tense or past tense, we will have either the auxiliary verb in present tense or it will be in past tense. And remember, the auxiliary verb must agree with the subject, so it can be singular or plural depending on the subject itself. I hope today's lesson is clear to you. Then let's do a few homeworks. Construct 3 sentences each in simple present and simple past in the active voice. Then turn these sentences into passive voice. You may write your answers in the comment section and I'll check them obviously and help you out if there is any problem. Okay, see you next time. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell to get notification for new videos.